we have someone to start the sending song? Okay. Warm. It's warm right here. Warm everywhere. Yeah, it is. Exactly. I'm always complaining. I never miss the opportunity to complain about being warm. Grace, you good? Cool. Car there. Good morning. Good morning. Water. All right. Morning. Morning. How's it going? Good. What's that? No. I just forgot something in my car. Go get it. Good morning, folks. It might be cold outside, but it is certainly warm in here. Be warm and be welcomed. We'll start, as always, with announcements that enhance and enrich our congregational life. I have one right off the bat, which is that Fran Weinbaum is looking for a house sitter for 2 weeks, late April, early May. It involves some cat and goat care. If you know somebody who might be interested, please get in touch with Fran. And if you need to know how to get in touch with Fran Weinbaum, let me know. Other announcements. Catherine.
So I'm Catherine and coordinator of coffee hours. If anyone would like to sign up, we have a few more spots left for from between now and June. And we're always happy to bring someone new in and work together. One of us who, I won't say just older, I'll say experienced. It's great fun. And if you can't do that, please feel free to bring snacks or whatever. And even like if someone gave you a big cheesecake and you don't want to eat it all yourself, it's okay to bring a partial. And we'll slice it up. So see me if you want to volunteer or just bring stuff for coffee hour. Thank you so much. And I want to thank Marilla for assisting this morning as well. Thank you.
Ken?
Wood Stove hasn't met for 3 weeks. I think we're overdue. 11:15, all are welcome. We talk about what's on our minds or critique him or Not very often.
Just to be clear, go ahead and finish, and I'll,
In the
I'll add.
11:15 in the nursery. Any questions about that? All are welcome. We've had teenagers on up at different times.
No politics. Just to be clear, the Woodstove Group is a wonderful opportunity to discuss what is on your mind. It's a chance for camaraderie and friendship. It is not a pastoral critique group. I'm happy to. It's a chance to talk about what the sermon brings up for everybody if that is where you are so moved. Happy to hear pastoral critique on a one-to-one basis or through our review committee. Be welcomed and be glad to be there. Thank you.
You're on. I'd like to make an announcement. There's somebody in this church today that we're blessed by having here who's been part of everything we've ever done, every musical and every other thing, and has a birthday next Wednesday. Her name is Amy Agney. Can we sing happy birthday, Amy? Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Amy. Happy birthday to you.
Diana Fielder for Onion River Food Shelf, as well as for all of us in the old meeting house. Together, we delivered 40 lunch bags to the area in the Plainfield, Marshfield sections of Vermont. And in those lunch bags were enough that we hope will help these families get through the next 12 days of school vacation. On Thursday afternoon, we had a wonderful time packing lunch bags, and as we get closer to April vacation, we'll encourage all of you to join us in the Blue Room for bag packing and lots of giggles. Thank you.
Thank you, Diana, for that work. It was inspiring to listen to you all, and yes, lots of giggles. All right. If we have no further announcements, let us begin with our prelude. Isn't it wonderful to be able to be a church that gathers together to celebrate the warmth of God's love, made visible in the warmth of this building, the crackle of our wood stoves, and the beauty of what surrounds us. Welcome to a church that recognizes that you are welcomed here and affirmed here today because of, and not in spite of, who you love, because of the body your spirit occupies, because of what you believe, what you struggle to believe, and what you sometimes don't believe. Exuberant in your faith, eager to share the grace of God, questioning the workings of the universe, and all places between, you are amongst true family here. Welcome to a church that celebrates the glory of a God who is still speaking to us, and a God who requires us to live into a life of discipleship, recognizing that loving our neighbors as ourselves is simply not negotiable. Welcome to all who have felt the doors of a church closed. Our doors are always open. Please join us now in a moment of centering silence and stillness as we prepare our hearts and our minds for worship. Please join me responsively in the call to worship printed in your bulletin. Children of God, welcome.
Welcome to this place of love and grace.
Welcome to this place of hope and perseverance.
God invites us all to this talking, beloved community.
God invites all of us to share in the good news.
We are welcome just as we are. We are loved just as we are.
That in gratitude for this, let us worship God. Will you please pray with me these words written by Helen Weaver? Almighty God, Mother, Father to us all, look upon your planet Earth divided. Help us to know that we are your children, that all nations belong to one great family, and that all of our religions lead us back to you. Multiply our prayers in every land until the whole earth becomes your congregation. United in your love, sustain our vision of a peaceful future, and give us strength to work unceasingly to make that vision real. Amen. Please stand as you are able and join in our opening hymn. It's This Is My Song, number 591, certainly relevant this week.
Country
Please stay standing as we read together Psalm 37. Ooh, good morning, me. Psalm 37 responsively. You'll find it on page 646, going over to 647. I will read the odds and ask you to read the evens. Do not fret because of the wicked. Do not be envious of wrongdoers. Trust in God and do good, so you will live in the land and enjoy security. Take delight in God, who will give you the desires of your heart. Commit your way to God, trust in God, and God will act. Be still before God and wait patiently. Do not fret over those who prosper in their way, over those who carry out evil devices. Refrain from anger and forsake wrath. Do not fret, it leads only to evil. For the wicked shall be cut off, but those who wait for God shall inherit the land. But the meek shall inherit the land and delight themselves in abundant prosperity. The salvation of the righteous is from God, who is their refuge in time of trouble. God helps them and rescues them. God rescues them from the wicked and saves them because they take refuge in God. Please be seated.
As we travel through another Black History Month, we are reminded of the generations of struggle that Black people have faced in this country, and the lessons that they may teach us about the struggles that we face right here, right now.
Ain't nobody gonna turn me round, turn me round, turn me round. Ain't gonna let nobody turn me round. Gonna keep on walking, keep on talking, marching up to freedom land. Ain't gonna let hatred turn me round, turn me round, turn me round. Ain't gonna let hatred turn me round. Gonna keep on walking, keep on talking, marching up to freedom land. Ain't gonna let injustice turn me round, turn me round, turn this land. I'm gonna let the words of Jesus guide my way, guide my way, guide my way. I'm gonna let the words of Jesus guide my way. Keep on walking, keep on talking, marching up to freedom land.
Genesis 45, 3 through 11 and 15. Joseph said to his brothers, I am Joseph. Is my father still alive? But his brothers could not answer him, so dismayed were they at his presence. Then Joseph said to his brothers, Come closer to me. And they came closer. He said, I am your brother Joseph, whom you sold into Egypt. And now, do not be distressed or angry with yourselves because you sold me here, for God sent me before you to preserve life. For the famine has been in the land these 2 years, and there are 5 more years in which there will be neither plowing nor harvest. God sent me before you to preserve for you a remnant on earth and to keep alive for you many survivors. So it was not you who sent me here, but God. He has made me a father to Pharaoh and Lord of all his house and ruler over all the land of Egypt. Hurry and go up to my father and say to him, Thus says your son Joseph, God has made me Lord of all Egypt. Come down to me, do not delay. You shall settle in the land of Goshen, and you shall be near me, you and your children and your children's children, as well as your flocks, your herds, and all that you have. I will provide for you there, since there are 5 more years of famine to come, so that you and your household and all you have will not come to poverty. And he kissed all his brothers and wept upon them. And after that, his brothers talked with him.
And after that, his brothers talked with him. Now is the time in our service where we have the opportunity to bring what is on our hearts and minds before God. As Mary reminded us in the Teze service last week, no prayer is too large, no prayer is too small. All forms of communication are welcome. If you have something to sing, sing it. If you have something to speak, speak it. Do not wait to be called on. In this moment, we trade the security of order for the spontaneity of the Spirit moving through us, and equality under God's eyes, that all are recognized, even if your name is not yet known to us. What do we bring before God this morning?
I've had quite the bug, as you can hear, and many of us have, and I hope we all can get through it, and I pray for those and me to get through the winter bugs and the cold and the dark. It's a hard time in so many ways. So God bless you all. I hope you all feel well too.
Prayers for all of the little bugs picking at us right now through this dark and hard time, that we may get through them and we may be strong.
I had prayers of thanksgiving because I missed last Sunday's service, and I feel like there might have been 2 weeks in a row, but I felt kind of empty, and I didn't realize how empty I felt until I came back in here, and seeing everybody's faces lights up my heart, and I love you all.
Prayers that we may be a community of warmth and light. Welcome back. How's your face?
Prayers for the people of Ukraine in this difficult time when things are shifting beneath them. I believe a group of supporters for Ukraine are going to gather in front of the State House Tuesday, probably midday. I don't know the exact time, but I know if you want to show up, it would be a good time to show up, and I'll try to keep you posted if you tell me that you're interested. Prayers for Ukraine.
Prayers for the people of Ukraine, and prayers for those who continue to stand on the front lines of reminding us that God's children are not pawns in games of war.
Prayers for us in America, that we do the right things and keep the truth.
Prayers for spiritual guidance, that in this country we do what is right.
I want to echo Joey's prayer, gratitude for connections here in the church, but also in the larger community of all the people that have shown us care and concern. I'm just grateful for connections.
Prayers for connections, prayers for holding us all in the light.
And prayers for the Pope as he continues to struggle with his health.
Indeed. Prayers for the Pope and his health and his recovery.
I'd like to ask prayers for everyone that is searching for employment, including myself. Now, I was feeling pretty down this week because I learned that I didn't get a job that I had interviewed for, and I'm turning this into a gratitude because it's hard not to feel down these days with the news and everything. I think everyone's feeling the weight of that. But I was like, okay, I need to do something. I can't sit wallowing and crying, though I did have a good ugly cry. And I came to the potluck and the Taizé service, and I really had to push myself to come, but I just got so much joy and healing and feeling better just having the conversations that we have at the potluck, and I really appreciate that opportunity. And then I have another gratitude of sharing that further. Last night, the Montpelier Gospel Choir, which I sing in, Joy Stricker sings in, a couple other people, had the concert and had our first concert for recognizing Black History Month. And it was so moving and it was so beautiful. I mean, and it was so joy filling. I just had been, if anyone's, dealing with the winter blues or something, yeah, all the blues right now, there's a lot of them. I was so energized and moved by that concert and like re-alivened yesterday that I could not, I was like so happy I could not sleep. I was just like awake and like wearing to go. I think I only got like 2 hours of sleep, hence the rambling here. But there's another concert today, so at 4 o'clock, and we were late, hence the lack of sleep, so I didn't get to make the announcement. But I invite everyone to come and experience that same joy. God's definitely moving in the gospel choir, 4 o'clock at the Unitarian Church today. Thanks.
Prayers for you in your job search, prayers for all who have found their lives turned around, prayers for the things that keep us going, our potlucks, our choirs, our song, prayers for continuing to be a community of God's children together. And check out the gospel choir this afternoon because it sounds great.
And also prayers of gratitude for Mary and her wonderful talent leading the Taizé chant and the fellowship. It was wonderful. And I praise everybody for all their talent that they provide in this church with gratitude and love to everyone.
Indeed, gratitude for the Taizé service, for what the talent that Mary brought to it, and all of the talents that we bring to this community.
Sorry, one more. This week, Finn has had a rough time with someone in his life that's helping him learn how to drive, and it's not me. Well, of course it's me, but and it's not Hannah. It's not. Anyway, he's going through that period in his life where he's learning how to communicate with people and realizing that everyone has a different communication style, and it brought me right back to high school and prayers for everybody in school. I know how tough it is, and it's easy to forget how tough it was, but yeah, we're there for you.
Prayers for everybody who is experiencing new learning in an increasingly high-stakes environment and those who support them.
I wanted to offer a prayer for all the plants that are sleeping still, that are just like, I feel like the tiniest bit of stirring under the snow, under the deep snow, under the earth, and the promise of spring that is coming.
I could echo that because I watched 3 turkey toms displaying this morning out my back door. Spring must be coming closer.
Prayers for the abundance below the snow and all of God's creatures getting through the winter together.
This is a tough prayer, and I'm not quite sure how to phrase it, but I find in myself and others that I speak with, a certain pleasure in bashing the people that are making things so miserable right now. And I think my prayer for myself, and perhaps others can identify with that, is to not respond to the hatred that's out there with my own hatred, and to remain and try to retain my ability to love, as Heidi so beautifully expressed it in her sermon last fall, even the ones that we would so like to hate.
Indeed. Prayers for the strength to maintain love and the strength to continue to remind ourselves that revenge is not in the Gospels. Friends, we bring so much to God today. We bring the struggles of our lives, the concerns of our heart. And yet, God, hear the joys of this community. Hear the love in this room. Hear the solidarity of a people waking up every morning to live another day. A people putting everything we have, putting our best foot forward to live as you would want us to do your work, to spread your love. God, hear our prayer. In our silence, may we now make room for your still, small voice echoing through us. And may we show our solidarity with you and each other, speaking together the words that Jesus taught us. Our Mother, our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Mary White gave us such a strong example last week of just how the gifts of this community are transformed into gifts of hope, gifts of care for the world that transcend far beyond the boundaries of our local community. In the spirit of creating a better world for all and a love that knows no bounds, would the ushers please come forward as today's offering is given and received.
Where there is
Gracious God, thank you for the capacity and the privilege of giving. May the gifts we bring be an acceptable sight in your eyes, that this is a community keeping the gospel of Christ at the center of our actions, embracing but not expecting miracles, and recognizing our help in creating them. Amen. Our hymn of preparation is number 51, "O Sing a Song of Bethlehem." We will sing verses 1 through 3. Please be seated. Our gospel reading this morning is taken from both Luke chapter 4, verses 21 through 30, and Luke chapter 6, verses 27 through 38. Listen to what these voices may be saying to you, and also what these voices may be speaking to each other.
Then he began to say to them, "Today this scripture has been fulfilled in your hearing." All spoke well of him and were amazed at the gracious words that came from his mouth. They said, "Is this not Joseph's son?"
If you love those who love you, what credit is that to you? For even sinners love those who love them.
He said to them, "Doubtless you will quote to me this proverb, 'Doctor, cure yourself.' And you will say, 'Do here also in your hometown the things that we have heard you did at Capernaum.' And he said, 'Truly I tell you, no prophet is accepted in his hometown.'"
Love your enemies, do good to those who hate you. Bless those who curse you. Pray for those who mistreat you. If anyone strikes you on the cheek, offer the other also. And from anyone who takes away your coat, do not withhold even your shirt.
But the truth is, there were many widows in Israel in the time of Elijah, when the heaven was shut up 3 years and 6 months, and there was a severe famine over all the land. Yet Elijah was sent to none of them, except to a widow at Zarephath in Sidon. There were also many with a skin disease in Israel at the time of the prophet Elisha, and none of them was cleansed except Naaman the Syrian.
Give to everyone who asks of you, and if anyone takes away what is yours, do not ask for it back again.
When they heard this, all in the synagogue were filled with rage. They got up, drove him out of the town, and led him to the brow of the hill on which their town was built, so that they might hurl him off the cliff.
If you lend to those from whom you expect to receive payment, what credit is that to you? Even sinners lend to sinners to receive as much again. Instead, love your enemies, do good, and lend, expecting nothing in return. Your reward will be great, and you will be children of the Most High.
But he passed through the midst of them and went on his way.
Do not judge, and you will not be judged. Do not condemn, and you will not be condemned. Forgive, and you will be forgiven. Give, and it will be given to you.
Place on my tongue your words, O God, in my heart your kindness, and teach me to accept them and no others, even the most clever of my own devising. I find that one of the best things about our worship services is that we don't always expect each other to launch into a deep, exegetically driven explanation of what exactly is happening in each of our readings. Instead, we consider the reading in context, consider the state of our hearts and minds, and hopefully walk away with a deeper understanding of what God wants us to do, allowing for multiple interpretations of the same passage and different perspectives. A few weeks ago, we started to look at the image of Jesus being rejected by his hometown through the lens of speaking the unpopular truth, exemplified through the courageous and theologically sound sermon of Bishop Marianne Buddy. And this week we come back to it through a different lens. Jesus' statement that no prophet is accepted in their hometown, and what it might mean to be too local to be heard, and what we can do about it. Now, I'll admit that when I declared back at the beginning of the month that we're going to spend a couple weeks on Luke 4, I did look ahead at the correct lectionary readings for this week, and I was not upset that I thought I would have to get to skip putting together another message about loving our enemies. Because this is a time when loving those who causes us harm is really, really tough. People in our local communities, in this congregation, have lost their jobs from the wave of ill-planned, mean-spirited cuts that have swept through the federal workforce without being turned back to the agencies for guidance. People in this congregation have lost their right to have their federal identity documents match their identities. And Heidi's sermon on loving our enemies taught us really well last fall. But as somebody whose document does match my identity, and as somebody who is still employed, I didn't feel like I could preach about it right now. But Jesus doesn't work that way. You can't just pick and choose. So I read the reading anyway, and what I imagined was exactly what you just heard in David and Grace's voices. Almost as if we had a chance to listen to the inner monologue of Jesus throughout the dramatic experience of his being rejected and cast out by his hometown and nearly murdered. Jesus' constant rhythmic repetition in Luke 6, if you love, if you do good, do not judge, do not condemn, stands in nonviolent resistance to the dramatic experiences of Luke 4. As if when the people of Nazareth started out by praising him, he's already thinking, loving someone who already loves you doesn't make you special. Everyone does it, even sinners. Or, hey, people of Nazareth, love your enemies. Do good to those who hate you, bless those who curse you, pray for those who mistreat you. Folks, this could provide you all a roadmap to dealing with the disappointment of asking for a miracle and being denied, but I don't think that's where you're about to go here. And finally, instead of fighting back, and we know that Jesus would most likely win, adhering to love your enemies, do good, and lend, expecting nothing in return, provides all the power he needs to calmly walk through the crowd and go about his way, not being hurled off of a cliff. Now here's the thing. Loving your enemies doesn't necessarily mean letting them control you or letting them get their way. It means approaching the situation from the perspective of, I wish you would do the right thing, and here's how I can help you do it. And just to be clear, the right thing is not the right thing in our political minds. The right thing is what Jesus taught us. As Diana Butler Bass reminds us, in no uncertain terms, revenge is contrary to the gospel. Put another way, you can almost imagine Jesus repeating over and over again these words. I am the lesson that showed your children we live in a world of gifts, not commodities. That gratitude and reciprocity are the doorway to true abundance, not power, money, or fear. And Jesus might have lived and taught exactly that, but those are not his words. Those are the words of Brian Gibbs, an educational ranger at Effigy Mounds National Monument in Iowa, who went to work on Valentine's Day to learn he had been fired from his dream job, notified by a form letter that didn't even get to his email before he was locked out of it, not due to his performance, which was rated exemplary, but because he was a probationary employee. And in a now viral social media post, Gibbs details who he is, including, I am a father, a loving husband, and dedicated civil servant. I am an oath of office to defend and protect the Constitution from all enemies, foreign and domestic. I am a work evaluation that reads exceeds expectations. I am a United States flag raiser and folder. And in the face of losing his job, the most negative thing Gibbs wrote was, I am gone from the office, I am the resistance, but mostly I'm just tired. I'm tired from weeks of being bullied and censored. Once more, I am the lesson that showed your children that we live in a world of gifts, not commodities, that gratitude and reciprocity are the doorway to true abundance, not power, money, or fear. Now, is that not the ethic of generosity that Jesus prescribes for Christians living in a hostile world made visible? Love your enemies, not by giving them power over you, but by insisting that they do better. and offering help, even when it hurts. Now here we do this by standing as the community that Jesus calls us to be, making sure that we are a community and a church that walks the fine line of not expecting miracles from within, but making sure we are still listening to God's voice running through us. Last Thursday, we had a warm and loving potluck supper here, followed by a powerful Teze service. And after the service, discussing the importance of worshiping together, Mary Bonhag commented that simply getting together to sing and pray feels like a radical act of resistance now. It sure does. Before that potluck, an enthusiastic team of volunteers was hard at work packing bags so that children in our greater community would have a solid lunch during their school vacation. And don't worry, y'all, despite the apologies for interrupting my sermon writing, you were not interrupting, you were inspiring it. And before the bag packing was underway, I had a meeting with members of our church who described coming to this neighborhood as everything there is to love about co-housing with a little more room for independence. A supportive and loving community who looks out for each other, no matter what, wrapped around a spiritual center that has withstood the tests of time, the tests of weathering, and the tests of many harsh political winds, yet still stands strong. Christ returned to Nazareth to contribute. If we go back a little bit before today's reading, we learn Jesus, filled with the power of the Spirit, returned to Galilee, and a report about him spread through all the surrounding country. He began to teach in their synagogues and was praised by everyone. When he came to Nazareth, where he was brought up, he went to the synagogue on the Sabbath day, as was his custom. He stood up to read, and you know how the rest turns out. He came to his hometown to contribute. And there is so much contribution going on in this community each week, seen and unseen, and that, friends, that is part of the miracle. Don't lose sight of its power just because it's familiar to us. If we are to live as disciples, we are bound to honor the contributions within this community, but don't forget, if you love those who love you, what credit is that to you? Now, Jesus challenges us to a higher standard. More importantly, we are bound to resist the urge to create enemies within. When we are disappointed in each other, we must approach our differences as an act of love, even when it's hard. We must not be disappointed when we let each other down, and when we do, we must love the people despite the differences. I'll say that again. We must love the people despite the differences. In this polarized and angry world, it's the only way forward. We might just be entering a time where the teachings of Christ are once again as radical as they were at the beginning. And if they are to be heard, and if God's will is to be done, it's going to take all of us, and it's going to take all of us together. In the words of Ranger Brian, stay present. Don't avert your gaze. Stay present. Stay present. Our closing hymn today is Every Time I Feel the Spirit, number 282. We are strong, so friends, Please stand and sing it strong. Love your enemies, do good, and lend, expecting nothing in return. Your reward will be great, and you will be children of the Most High. In an ever-polarized, increasingly vengeful world, friends, don't give in to injustice, and do not emulate it. May the relentless and merciful love of Christ be your strength and be your power. Go in peace, go in power.